Hey, friends, thanks for joining us on the Invisible Strength podcast. You would never know today's guest is an autoimmune warrior. She's a gymnast at the University of Alabama, and competing at such a high level is truly a testament to her character and resilience as she navigates rheumatoid arthritis. I'm honored and excited to welcome Peyton to the show. Peyton, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, I'm so excited to talk to you.
For sure. Can you kick us off by sharing a little bit about your journey as a gymnast at the University of Alabama and what drew you to the sport?
Well, I started gymnastics at when I was 3 years old. I was put in mommy and me classes. And so it's kind of all I've known. My brothers and we would always be roughhousing around the house, jumping off of the banister, and just our parents really need to put us in the outlet to get all that energy out without killing ourselves. So me and my brother, we both were playing gymnastics. He went to the University of Oklahoma for gymnastics, and I went to the University of Alabama. So it was really cool. We're both in the SEC, and we both got to share a passion through the collegiate level, which is just so unique. And yeah, my Alabama journey started in, I think, 2022 when I was a sophomore in high school. I was starting to get recruited, and my best friend, she was one of my teammates, and the university contacted her. They got in touch. She committed. And the really big thing I was looking for in a college was a family. And especially if I'm going thousands of miles away from my family in California, I just really knew I needed a strong support system. And she told me that Alabama was really everything I was looking for. And I mean, she's my best friend. We talked about colleges so much that she just knew what I was looking for. And the university fit that perfectly. And I honestly didn't believe it. I was like, this is just a fairy tale if it's everything you're telling me. I got offered a visit and I came on. It was my last one I was allowed. So we were only allowed 5 in gymnastics. And it was my last one that I booked, and I stepped on the campus, absolutely fell in love. And I mean, that's where my story started there.
That's amazing. And as I mentioned to you offline, my sister grew up in gymnastics, so it's a sport dear to my heart, but it also can be incredibly grueling and, as you said, unforgiving. Can you take us through your RA journey and how that has impacted being a gymnast?
Yeah, I mean, Ray has completely shifted my perspective and how I attack the sport nowadays. It started last year, September. I turned 19 in end of August. That's where my story started. I woke up, I think on or around my birthday. Earlier that week, I did a vault on at practice. It was a great vault. I was so happy with it. I woke up the next day and my elbow was bent. And I was like, this is so weird. I didn't jam it or anything, but I guess I must have, right? Because it's bent. I didn't tell anyone because in the sport, if you feel some sort of pain, especially if you didn't do anything, you just almost gaslight yourself and you're like, it's okay. I'll just keep pushing. It'll go away in a few days. A few days came along. It did not go away, actually, it got worse. I had, like, a 90-degree bend in my elbow, and it was hurting to strain. I physically could not strain it more than 90 degrees, and I remember thinking, "This was so weird, I didn't do anything." Again, I still didn't say anything until I was at practice, and I was swinging bars like this, and my coach is like, "Why isn't your elbow straight?" And I was like, I don't know, it's just been like that for the past week." And he was like, "We should get that checked on, Peyton. That's not okay." So, I went to the doctor. They did x-rays, they did MRI, nothing was wrong. They were like, "There's just some fluid in there, so we're gonna go in and drain it." I don't know if you know what draining is, but they stick a needle into your joint line and they just take that excess fluid. And one, I had a lot. I have a few photos. They're very nasty, but they got a lot of fluid from my elbow, which one was like not really great. There was a lot in there, but it was yellow. And I didn't know this, but apparently when you typically drain something, it's supposed to be clear, it's supposed to be thick. Mine was yellow and it was very liquidy. So that was kind of raising alarm bells, and the doctors were like, "Oh, this is a little weird. We're going to just run it for some testing." I'm just going on my merry way. I'm like, I can strain my elbow again. I don't really care. So I'm practicing. Life is going on. And I wake up one day and I can't get out of bed. And my knees are just so swollen and I didn't do anything to prompt it. And I just can't really walk. I'm in excruciating pain. And I had practice that day and I was freaking out. As a gymnast, you push through these things, but I physically could not walk. I was just in so much pain. I was in class that day and I am just such a bubbly person. I'm just always smiling and always just trying to interact with people. And I remember I was in class in the front row. I had my hood on and I was just like crying because
Yeah.
I was just sitting there and I was in so much pain. So I go to practice. I'm just trying to brush it off. I'm trying to gaslight myself and tell myself everything's fine. It's all in my head. For some reason, I'm just in this pain and there's no reason I should be in pain. So we're warming up on the floor. We're just jogging around and I'm limping and I'm like almost holding back breaths because I'm just in so much pain. And I've pushed through so many injuries before. I've had a broken back, torn shoulders. I've pushed through injuries, but I was like, this is not normal. This is not the pain I can push through. It's debilitating. And I remember I was about to go to vault and I was doing tramp drills and I could not jump on the tramp. I was just in so much pain. So then I stopped and I was like, you know what? I was going to go vault. Obviously, if I can't walk, if I can't jump, I'm just going to go full send and do a vault. Well, one of my fifth year seniors, she looks at me and we're best friends and she was like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know. I'm in so much pain right now. I can't really function. And she was like, okay, so why do you look like you're about to run down this runway? And I was like, I am. And she's like, no, you're not. So she grabs my hand and she walks me over to her trainer. And I was just telling her the whole situation. She kind of, she assessed me and then she was like, okay, I know this is not what you want to hear, but you're swollen. You don't seem to there's no reason you should feel like this. Like, let's just go make sure you're okay. You're going to go get an x-ray and then like just rest today. I was like, okay, okay. So I go back to the doctor's office. I think this is like a week or two later from when I was previously there. And the nurse looks at me. She was like, you just love being here, don't you? I was like, yeah, that's definitely why. So I get the x-rays, everything. She's trying to move my knee and it just really hurts. So she kind of just gives up and we just run the scans. And then I don't remember what the gap was, but I eventually get in for a rheumatology appointment. And the day prior or the few days leading up to it, my trainer was talking about rheumatoid arthritis and arthritis this, arthritis that. And I was like, Monica, that's the name of our trainer. I was like, Monica, I'm 19. I just turned 19. There is no way I have this arthritis you speak of. I was like, you were silly. You were so silly. And I go to the rheumatologist. I have to leave practice early before we even start. So I go for a team meeting and then I leave practice. And again, I still can't really walk. I'm in a lot of pain walking. My elbow inflammation came back. It's back to being bent after 2 weeks of after getting it drained. I'm just a total mess. I'm a total mess and I want to cry because again, I'm just in this pain 24/7 and I'm just like, what's wrong with me? What is wrong? And I go to the doctor's office. He gets me in for an ultrasound just so we can see how much inflammation is in my knees, in my elbow. So they're doing the ultrasound and they're like, there's a lot of fluid in your knees and they are swollen. These things, you cannot see a kneecap anymore. There's no knee. It's just thigh to cap.
It's a balloon. I've
It's
been
a
there.
balloon.
Yep.
And they're doing the ultrasound and they're like, yeah, they're talking to each other. They're like, it looks like some rheumatoid arthritis. And I look at them, I was like, no, guys, it's not. I'm telling the doctor. I'm like, it's not rheumatoid arthritis. I would know. I would just have a feeling. And he was like, okay, well, he takes the ultrasound machine and he goes over my wrists and my fingers. He was like, usually with rheumatoid arthritis, you have swelling in the small joints. And he was like, you do. And he was like, you might not realize it. You might not even feel it because you're a gymnast. So you pound all the time, like on your small joints, on your wrist, and on those fingers that you probably mistake that inflammation as just regular you're pounding on your wrist type of pain. And I'm just still not having it. I'm still not believing it. So they he pulls me to a back room and he sits me down and he tells me that I have all the markers for rheumatoid arthritis. And I just remember going completely numb. And I'm looking at this doctor and there's just I couldn't hear anything. I see him talking to me, but I don't hear anything. And I'm just I remember I remember he's talking to me and I look at the wall and it's a diagram of how rheumatoid arthritis can be detected in ages 19, like young as 19. And I was like, wow, what a coinkydink. Like, what? How ironic. And I just really couldn't understand anything he was saying. I was just flooded with grief and just what does this mean for the rest of my life? How does this change how I'm going to go into my passion? How am I gonna fulfill my sport? I'm only a sophomore. And all I was thinking is I've only gone 1 year to do the sport that I love at the collegiate level. I was just so I was just so struck and I felt like I was punched in the gut and it was really grieving what I thought was gonna be the end of my career. I was so scared and I called my mom. I was in this doctor's office alone. I got this life-changing news. So I called my mom because she's in the medical field. She's an ER nurse. So I let her talk to my doctor. Thank gosh, I don't know what I would have done without her, even just being on the phone to talk to him. And they're doing all their medical scientific talk, and I'm just sitting there looking at the ground, and I'm just like, "What has life become?" This was 3 days after, I had to go back to California for my grandma's funeral. So I was just getting news after news, and I was like, "Why, universe? Why me?" I was just in so much pain from that, obviously, and then I'm having this life-changing news, and I was just sitting there and I was like, this is the end of my career. And the doctor got off the phone with my mom. He told me he's going to start me on some treatment right away, which entailed 2 shots, one in each arm. And again, still numb, still like nothing was there, just going along, just like nodding my head. And the nurse comes in to give me my shots, and I'm just like silently crying, just streams are rolling down my face. And I'm just this 19-year-old, freshly 19-year-old in a doctor's office by herself, thousands of miles away from her family, and I'm just like, "What is my life gonna become? What does my life look like now?" So after I get my shots, my doctor comes in, he's like, "You are gonna be treated like my daughter now." Like, he was like, "I'm gonna help you through this whole journey," and he truly has and did. I don't know what I would have done without such an amazing doctor and such an amazing support system. He walked me over to labs, and I got 11 vials of blood drawn. So now I'm like my head's pounding because I was crying, and now my head's pounding 'cause I just got so much blood taken, and,
Yeah.
I leave the doctor's office, I get in my car, and I just start sobbing and hyperventilating on borderline having a panic attack, and I call my mom, who's at work in the ER, and, I'm just like, "What does this mean?" Like, I'm asking about my life expectancy because I have no idea what rheumatoid arthritis means.
Yeah.
You hear arthritis and you just think it's for, like, usually older people have rheumatoid. You think of osteoarthritis. You think of the arthritis that, like, doesn't affect younger people. You don't know of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile arthritis. You just think, "I can't be affected by this because I'm young, and I'm healthy, I'm an athlete, I eat well." I was just crying, and I was like, "How did this happen to me?" And my mom is calming me down, and she's like, "We're gonna figure this out." Like, I know this is scary and I know this is just a curveball, but we're gonna figure this out, and it's not the end of the road. It's just a bump in the road, a huge bump, but this isn't the end. And I calm myself down. I drive back to practice. I look at the clock, and I think we had 45 more minutes left of practice. So I knew at that time that meant my team was doing cardio. And I was just like, okay. After hearing this life-changing news. I was like, "Let me just go to Starbucks and get myself a little cake pop because I deserve it."
Yeah.
Get my Starbucks, I go back to the gym. I think they had 10 minutes left to practice at this point, and I just walk into my locker room and I just I'm just crying, and all the student athletic trainers look at me and I'm like, "I need Monica, my trainer." I'm like, "I need Monica, I need Monica." So they run. They are sprinting to get Monica from the gym. Mon comes sprinting into the locker room and I broke down in her arms and she gave me a hug and I couldn't get the words out. And it seems so melodramatic now that but in the time it was everything to me. I was fully grieving what I thought my life was gonna be, and I was just crying in her arms, and I couldn't even get out the words, but she just knew, and I told her how everything was gonna go with little sniffles in between, and she looked at me, she was like, "We're gonna get through this. I know this seems like everything right now, but we're gonna get through it." And that's truly what I needed in that moment. And then my whole team walks in, I go into our private locker room area, and obviously, I am sobbing. I can almost not breathe right now. And my whole team just hugs me and like holds me up. It makes me want to cry thinking about it.
Same, I'm getting teary-eyed.
It's just really empowering to myself to see how far I've come since that moment. And I broke down in my team's arms and they're all holding me. And just to be surrounded by my sisters when my family wasn't there to hold me up and my whole team was, sorry. It's such a moment. And they all told me that we're going to get through this. Like, if anyone can get through this, it is you. And they're like, you are meant to do this. Like, this is meant to be your story and you are meant to tell it. And that's really all I needed in that moment to just be like, I can get through this. That gave me the strength to keep going. And I remember Jameson Sears, one of the juniors, she looked at me. She was my locker buddy. She looked at me. She goes, "Hey, you're just not seeing the vision. Do you know how empowering this can be?" She was like, "You know how much money you can make from this?" I just started laughing, and oh my gosh, that's really what I needed in that moment to smile. I was crying for X amount of hours. I was in that doctor's office for 3 hours, and I just needed to crack a smile. I just needed to laugh and just be myself. Like, I felt like I was losing a piece of myself in that doctor's office, and just to be able to smile again, just be able to laugh at the situation I was in, like, after that, I was like, "Dang, we're right. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I am 19 years old and I have rheumatoid arthritis." Our whole team just starts laughing, and I think that was just really what I needed, and my whole team has been such a support system throughout this year, and I genuinely would not be able to do this whole journey without them or without anyone in my corner, and, yeah, that was the beginning of my story.
Yeah, well, you touched on a lot of really important points. We often talk a lot about the grief that comes with these conditions and losing not only your old life, but what you envisioned for your future. And I so relate to that. The other piece is how important community is, because even though people may not know exactly what you're going through, they are there to support you and lift you up. And in the darkest of times, you have to laugh because these
Too.
conditions are just so intense as you're describing. Early on, it is, as you said, so overwhelming and so much to take on and process. Once you were able to grieve that piece of it, how did you navigate getting back into competing?
Yeah. Well, it took a very long time. We call our preseason the whole time to get ready for season. It's from August up until December. So you have 4 months to get ready for this 4-month season. I didn't get any of that. I could not really walk for 3 months. I wouldn't be able to get out of bed some days. And some days when I willed myself to get out of bed, couldn't even think about doing practice because I was in so much pain. So, really, I had so much mental I had to be really mentally strong for that whole period of time. I had to support my whole team who was going through this whole process of preseason, which preseason is a very gruesome time where you're putting pedal to the metal, you are working and you are grinding in that gym, and it is such a fatiguing time and just it's really it takes everything out of you, really. And as everything was taken out of me, I had to pour whatever I had left back into my team to make sure that they had everything they needed. Because in my eyes, if I wasn't doing anything gymnasticsally, I was going to do everything I could to support those girls in the gym for their emotional standpoint from anything I could do. I was screaming my lungs out every single practice for those girls. And I mean, we had to do so much conditioning and just running and so much cardio that I couldn't do. I was on the wind bike and on the assault bike just doing as much as I can to mentally prepare myself for when I was going to be able to come back, and really doing so many mental reps of all my events just in my head, just really envisioning what it was feeling like to do my skills again. And even though I couldn't physically do them, I did thousands of reps in my head, and um it was so hard. And those first few weeks, I just knew that it was gonna be a long road ahead. Still, those first few weeks were probably the hardest because I was in so much pain, and I had days where I couldn't even sleep because I was just in so much pain just laying in my bed. I couldn't roll, toss, and turn because I was in so much pain. I had days where cooking dinner was so hard because I couldn't pick up, like, the kettle. I couldn't pick up the pot. So I had to have my roommates, bless them, they had to help me through all those stages, and, I just knew throughout my whole journey, especially in the beginning, that I wanted to spread awareness. I went to that doctor's office knowing nothing about rheumatoid arthritis, and I didn't know that it could affect someone as young as me. I didn't know what it looked like, and I just knew when I found out I had it that I had to spread awareness, and I wanted people to know that just because you have a chronic illness, just because you have a disability, does not mean you can't pursue your passions. It does not mean you can't attack what you want to in everyday life. It might look a little different than what you originally envisioned, but it doesn't mean you can't get it done. It doesn't mean you can't pursue it. And I knew at that, even though I thought like all those doubts were creeping in, like, what if this is the end of my career? Is this the end of my career? I ultimately knew in my heart, I was like, I'm not done yet. This road might look different and it might look just, I couldn't even envision what it did look like, but I just knew in my heart, I was like, this is not the end for me. And this isn't the end for my story. And just having that in the back of my mind every single day. I mean, I had little quotes on my wall. I'm a big quotes person, and just like those little mantras that will get you going. And I had so many of those that was just like 1% each day. As long as you get 1% better each day, that's all you need to get where you want to go. Even those days where I couldn't really move, my 1% was just figure out my diet, like figuring out what foods to eat to make me feel good. Like you wouldn't have I would not have thought before getting this diagnosis. I was an athlete. I would not have thought that anything in my diet directly influenced, like, how much inflammation my body would have. Like, we're told that, and I'm told that by my nutritionist, but, like, it's different knowing it and actually feeling it every single day. Like, whatever I put into my body is gonna affect it. And we always talk about, like, your body is a car, and whatever you put in it is the fuel. So if you put diesel in a gas engine, then your car's not going to run. So just knowing that and really perceiving it in a different light is just everything to anyone with a chronic illness.
Lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
One, that's awesome that you're working with or have worked with a nutritionist, because I have found in my journey that diet is a game changer in how to manage my symptoms. So I'm curious, what are the specific changes you've made to help fuel your body?
Yeah. Well, my doctor and I talked about the Mediterranean diet, but I didn't want to change my diet too much because, I mean, I hate to admit it, I have the biggest sweet tooth, and, obviously, anything with sugar is can lead to inflammation. It's very bad for your body. I just knew I wanted to cut it out, especially for the beginning of my journey, just to, like, get where I want to be. with my body and how the inflammation is handled. But I knew I wasn't going to want to do that forever. I knew I wanted to still enjoy food and still enjoy what I put into my body. So I've cut out completely red meat, which you would figure it's a protein. You wouldn't think red meat contributes to inflammation. No, it definitely does. Actually, during our first meet of the season, we traveled to Clemson and we ate at a steakhouse. And genuinely, I don't eat that much red meat. Man, do I love a good steak. So we went to a steakhouse and I got myself a steak and goodness, I flared up awful that night before the meet and I felt it a few hours after that night. I felt it before I went to bed. I looked at Jameson, actually my roommate for that travel meet, and I was like, I know I'm going to flare up tomorrow. Just cuz you can really feel it. You could feel it coming on and I woke up that next morning and it really hurt to move and it was just so devastating because we had a meet that day and it was our first of the season and I really mentally was putting everything on that meet of like all this pain that I went through was going to lead to something and I put it all on that one meet and ultimately I wasn't able to compete because I was just in a flare up. I thought I was going to perform amazingly because how much I put into that 1 month I got instead of 4 months for preseason. All of December, I worked my butt off in the gym to really put myself in a position where I could compete or just even be in a lineup position. And I was very much like this all was for something. All of this hurt, all of this pain, all of this grief was going to lead to something. And when it didn't, I was so just gutted. And I remember that whole weekend, our team won. We came up with the dub. I tried doing warm up. It wasn't working because I was just in so much pain. I talked to my head coach. I was like, I don't think I should be in lineup. I see how everyone else is warming up. I want to put us in the best position to come out on top of this meet. Like I don't want myself and my what I want out of this meet, which is to compete, to be above what the team needs. And the team needs to like start off strong. The team needs a good view under her belt for the first meet of the season. And if ultimately that wasn't going to come down to me being in that lineup, I didn't want to hinder our team of our success because I want to be selfish and like choose what I want over what our team needs, you know? So that whole weekend was really hard. When you have a chronic illness, what also contributes to a flare up is your mental state. If you're putting so much stress on your body, if you are just anything besides your average, I like to say, would cause a flare up. So I was so hard on myself that whole weekend, and that was not helping get me over this flare up. And I was just beating myself up for not doing one routine. I talked to my counselor that week, and she really said something that kind of flipped a switch. She was telling me, you can't expect the same out of yourself as what you did before this diagnosis. You can't be as hard on yourself for not meeting your expectations when you have something completely different as a factor. And that really kind of did flip a switch in my mind that I can want the same things I did before this diagnosis, but I cannot approach it in the same way that I did before this diagnosis. I have to approach it in a smart way, in a very meticulous, calculated way of how I'm going to manage my whole disease and how that plays a factor into how I compete on a Friday night. And I talked to my coaches about it. We made a game plan and just very much listening to my body because, I mean, as a gymnast, also, you're kind of ingrained to not listen to your body, to push your body to the max. And if it's telling you, if it's screaming at you to stop, you keep going until something physically breaks. So just knowing now, like all those like 18 years of conditioning I've had into my mental of you push yourself to your breaking point, I couldn't do anymore because my breaking point would take me out for we don't even know how long. So it's just a very up in the air type of game, and you really have to listen to your body. And I really had to listen to my mind and condition my mind. Our team always says, like, no expectations. And I've really taken that and it's really worked for me. Like, I tell my head coach anytime before I go on the bar for competition, I look at her and I go, no expectations, because that really lets me live in the moment and it doesn't let me dwell in the past. It doesn't let me stress about the future, which is both what contribute to a flare up. And I've really had to fully take on that mentality, but I was almost pushed into it. So I think that's also what really has helped, just really thinking, live in the moment and just don't think about the future. Don't dwell on the past and what you couldn't have done. Just live in the here and now.
I think one, it's a testament to your maturity because I did not have that wherewithal when I was in my 20s going through it. Uh, but you bring up some really good points around mental health. I know it, especially for you being a gymnast, all those years growing up and training your brain and your body to push yourself to the max. It's a hard shift to be able to live in the moment and have no expectations. You've mentioned quotes and affirmations. What were some of the other tools that you used to really make that change mentally, to really listen to your body and start to take care of yourself in the moment?
Yeah. Well, my coach and I talked about a journal that I kept about what I did each day at practice just to help my progression. And that really kind of helped me gain confidence in just trusting my body again to not flare up. There was a good bit in December where I was coming back and I was just so terrified of having another flare up because I did not it makes me wanna cry just thinking about it. I did not want to feel that type of pain ever again, and just that debilitating pain where I couldn't even walk, I couldn't do my daily activities. I just was in so much pain 24/7, and I wasn't myself, and it was almost like I was a shell of myself. I did not want to go back to that point, and especially did not wanna go back to the point where I couldn't do gymnastics again. So, I talked to my coach, my head coach, Ashley, one day, and I was looking at her and I was like, I'm just so terrified to go back to that place that I was before. And she looked at me and she was like, you can't be as scared of the past and you can't be scared of what's coming tomorrow. She was like, if you have a flare up tomorrow, that sucks, but ultimately you can't control it. And you can't anticipate it before it happens because then you're gonna stress yourself out about the future, about the possibility of it happening, which could cause a flare up. So, I think that was just also when we talked about that and when she said that, I was like a light bulb went off and I was like, "I can't be scared of the future. I can't be scared of something that hasn't even happened yet. So why am I gonna let it control me? Why am I gonna let it consume me?" And I mean, it is a very grueling thought that, like, your whole life before this diagnosis, you've been able to control everything your body has done. You've been able to have your life was in your control. You were fully able to control an outcome. You were able to control how your body felt, and the feeling of not being in control, the feeling of just being just solely in limbo almost is a terrifying thought. Understanding how to control those thoughts and how to not let them completely consume you was everything to me and everything to my mental. Truly, the thought of just staying present and staying in the moment and no expectations, that has been everything in my mental game, in my mental capacity. So I would say that.
Yeah, I think we have a false sense of control over our bodies. And then when you're diagnosed and dealing with autoimmune conditions like this, you realize you don't really have a whole lot of control over it. I appreciate you've mentioned a few different examples of people saying stuff that has really resonated with you. It's amazing what a incredible support system you've had throughout this.
Goodness, I've been so blessed. I've thought about that quite often, and that's why, I want to keep speaking out on the condition and just how it really affects you mentally, just because all I wanted when I first got diagnosed was to be seen, and all I wanted was to feel not alone. Like, I had such a great support system, but ultimately, at the end of the day, no one knew what I was going through, no one could relate to it, and although, like, I had everyone around me holding me up, it was almost like people are saying, like, "I'm so sorry you feel like this," and it was almost I felt like not pity, but in a sense, you feel pitied because no one understands it. No one fully realizes how debilitating it is and how hard it is when you can't get out of bed. Like a simple task becomes such a challenge, and it's an insane mind switch. It's the same life switch that to find someone or to find a community that really understands what you're going through and they can just relate. It's just that's all I wanted to feel. I would go scrolling through my Instagram and I would see posts that were like talking about rheumatoid arthritis or chronic illnesses and how debilitating it makes you feel and how how much pain you're in 24/7. And I just felt seen. I just felt less alone, and I really want to be that for other people or just create a system for other people where they just feel less alone. And I've had little girls DM me and I've had little girls like come up to me with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and say like they're little gymnasts or they're little athletes and they're like you coming forward about your disease and being so vulnerable makes me believe that I can achieve my dreams of collegiate athletics. And just having that and just knowing that other people feel seen by that, just it means everything to me, and just that they don't feel as alone or they just feel empowered to pursue their passions. That is anything I could have wanted coming forward about this.
I relate to that because you can have the best support system in the world. I had a lot of support around me that I'm truly beyond grateful for, but it still can feel isolating. Like you see the stats and you know that millions of people are living with conditions like that, but you can still feel so alone and not seen, to your point. The other thing is, I just appreciate you coming out, spreading awareness, and being an inspiration to all those younger kids. We're seeing more and more that kids are getting diagnosed early and earlier, and they're getting diagnosed at triple the rate of any other age group. So just heartbreaking. But you cultivate invisible strength. It just like shines around you and everything that you're talking about. So I want to ask you, what does invisible strength mean to you?
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't have known how to answer that when I first got diagnosed, which it's hard to put into words. It's a feeling of being heard. It's like a warm hug. It's knowing that you're not alone and knowing that people are that you don't even know, complete strangers have your back and they're there to listen to you. I've had people that I don't know have reached out to me, and I've created such great friendships with people reaching out to me about their illnesses and their chronic disease, about their autoimmune diseases. It's a sense of community that you're not. When I first got diagnosed, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to tackle it head on. And having so many mentors around me that don't even necessarily have rheumatoid arthritis, that have lupus or that have anything else, like it just means everything that people are just so willing to help you and so willing to guide you or just be like, hey, this worked for me. I don't know if it'll work for you, but there's a chance it could. It's the ultimate power and it's the ultimate strength. And I don't think anyone could truly understand it.
We always welcome people with open arms, especially right after they're diagnosed, because it's like, well, I mean, you don't want to be a part of this community, but it is such a tight knit, amazing community because people know what it's like to go through such challenging circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. And your life just flips upside down in an instant, but you have a whole community out there and you have a whole support system that you don't even know of that is there to help you, to guide you, and just to pick you up when you fall. It means so much.
For sure. So, Peyton, I want to ask, thinking of those younger little gymnasts who are just starting out in their journeys, what
Yeah.
advice would you offer them?
I would just say keep going. Like know your goal and pursue that goal no matter what anyone says, no matter what you feel that day. It's a long haul, but it's a truly rewarding haul and it's a truly remarkable experience when you get there and when you're able to look back and just see how much you've overcome and just where you started to where you are now, it means everything. So just keep going.
I love that very much. Well, I appreciate you being so open about your journey. I personally relate to it so much. And I have lupus and debilitating joint pain. Like there was a period of 2 years where I couldn't lift my arms because my shoulders were so inflamed. So I know what it's like not to be able to lift a pot or do the smallest of things without being in excruciating pain. So I just really want to thank you for all the work you're doing around raising awareness for RA and giving hope and inspiration to all those behind you who look up to you. And 'cause that's our biggest mission here through the Invisible Strength podcast is showing people you can still live full, meaningful lives and accomplish amazing things with these conditions. It just takes a while to figure out how to find your own rhythm in doing that. Your story is an incredible testament to that. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I mean, it's all about giving yourself grace on those bad days and holding on to those good days.
For sure. Peyton, can you tell people where to find you on Instagram or socials if they want to follow you?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's peyton.kbw, and on TikTok, it's peyton_kbw. But I love raising awareness and like putting together little clips of what those doctor's appointments really entail, just those shots that I go through every 2 weeks. And just, I mean, I've let my roommate give me those shots before. So it's just, yeah, it's taking it day by day.
Wow, you really trust your friend then.
We had the right protection. My mom and ER nurse was there, so she was making sure she wasn't gonna nick me or that those medicines were not gonna hit the ground. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Peyton, you were an absolute joy to talk to. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Awesome. To our community, make sure you check out invigorateyourjourney.com. We have community picks, free support groups, and coaching services. If you're looking for a little extra help, any part in your journey, really, we'd love to help and support in any way, shape, or form. So until next time, take care. Peace.